let's kick off as a starter for 10 on this Route 66, episode 66, with the Is All Counselling Person-Centered. And of course, we get our topics from our Facebook group. And if you're not a member of our Facebook group, join. Stop right now and go and join. Unless, of course, you're driving. Not a good idea if you're driving. Go onto Facebook, do a search for Counselling Tutor. Come and knock on the door. Thousands and thousands and thousands of students and tutors from all over the world. And what do we talk about in there? Well, we talk about all things related to counselling and studying counselling as students. So what is today's topic, and who brought that up for us, Rory?
Well, we're very grateful, as always, to our wonderful Facebook community, a real live community of people really passionate and interested about the world of counselling and psychotherapy. We've got trainees, we've got some qualified practitioners, we've got some supervisors, we've got some tutors. It's a real meeting place of minds. So we're very grateful to Laura Rendell Bell. So hi, Laura. And Laura posted, is it fair to say that counselling, no matter what model you use, is person-centred? I would love to hear your comments and what information you would have to back this up. Hope this is not a stupid question. Laughs out loud.
LOL.
LOL.
An LOL question. LOL. I like it. What a cracking question. And I want to start this off just by saying we've never, not once have we ever had a stupid question in the counselling in our Facebook group. And this is not an exception. It's not a stupid question. I think it's a very informed and a really good question. What's your thoughts on it, Rory?
Well, my thoughts are, it's a question. You're not the only person, Laura, who asked this. Mm-hmm. And it's super, super, super confusing for students of counselling and psychotherapy. You learn person-centered therapy, and you're told quite correctly that the relationship is the whole of it. The core conditions, or the necessary and sufficient conditions, are necessary and sufficient. By using those, the whole therapy rolls forward, and clients can achieve, kind of achieve the healing that they want, the emotional healing they want. So really the question is, how much does person-centered therapy appear in other therapies? And I've been doing my homework. And so what information you have that would back that up is this. So pin your ears back. Basically, this debate has been rolling on for years and years and years. And I'm going to talk about Saul Rosenzweig, who was a psychologist who came up with the dodo bird verdict in 1936. And he basically said that he looked at 500 different therapies, and he said that all psychotherapies were equally as effective. And what really counted was the quality of the relationship. Now, really interesting, in 2015, Lucy Goldsmith, who's a PhD candidate from the University of Manchester, brain, behaviour and mental health faculty, carried out research with some really high kind of well-regarded professors, Sean Lewis, Graham Dunn, a professor in Liverpool, Richard Bentel, and they did some research on this, and they did it with psychiatrists who were working with people with, things like schizophrenia, bipolar. And what they went for was, do successful treatments make patients feel well disposed to their therapist? Or is the relationship actually at the heart of whether therapy succeeds? And they looked at 308 people, and they actually found that was the case. The better the relationship, the better the outcomes of therapy. Mm. So the question that's still around is, do people use the core conditions? So I'm going to refer you to Hargenden and Sills, Helena Hargenden and Charlotte Sills. They're TA therapists, and theirs was the last great movement in TA. There's been lots of movements in TA. There's been there's been the redecision model. There's been the integrative model, and the relational model was developed by Hargenden and Sills. And what's really, really interesting is the answer to your question, Laura, is yes. The idea of empathy, congruence, and unconditional positive regard is the basis of most modern therapeutic encounters. And what's really interesting is that the other models, and I hope there's some TA therapists listening here, call it something slightly different. They call it empathic attunement. There's different words for the same thing. But the research would say that for therapy to really work, there has to be a good quality relationship. And let's face it, being empathic and really listening to what the client's struggling with and really trying to understand them and get them, and most of the point, the client getting it. The client understanding that the therapist really understands, or is trying really hard to understand where they're coming from. So important. Being non-judgmental goes without saying. And the therapist being real and genuine. These are universal ingredients of a therapeutic relationship, whether you're practicing CBT, TA, or person-centered therapy. The only difference is in person-centered therapy, the core conditions are necessary and sufficient. In other therapies such as TA and CBT, they would use that, and they would use the model. They would teach the model of therapy to the client. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. That was burning the midnight oil last night. So
yeah, that's some great research there, Rory. Some lovely names, some lovely facts there, evidence basing that, and of course there's the difference, as you quite rightly pointed out, that within person-centered it is necessary. Yes, it needs to be there, but it is sufficient. That is all you need. And within the other modalities, it is not sufficient. You also need the underpinning model of cognitive behavioral therapy or transactional analysis for the therapy to be successful. But it's really interesting when you're speaking about the dodo, what is it? The dodo effect, the dodo.
It's called the Dodo Bird Verdict, and it comes...
Verdict, yes.
Actually, its history is quite interesting. I'll just go into that. I'm a great fan of Alice in Wonderland, as you know. And actually, the Dodo Bird Verdict comes from Alice in Wonderland. It's where the dodo bird had a competition with all the other animals. And it was almost win prizes. All are equal. That's where it comes from.
Like it, and that fits for me because I live in Cheshire, just up the road from where Lewis Carroll was born and actually wrote Alice in Wonderland. So hey, it all just ties in today.
Yeah,
and I guess I've certainly been in private practice for some years, and I've certainly had clients that have presented that have maybe gone down another route and had a therapist usually that was given to them that they didn't have a choice about through the NHS, short duration, where the therapist maybe wasn't, or the clients perceived the therapist not to be as invested in the relationship, where they were just given worksheets to do. They were just given homework and they didn't feel that they were listened to. And they reported when they came to me that therapy was not effective. So the model was there, the CBT model and the worksheets was there, but what was missing? It was that relational interaction, somebody being there, somebody hearing you, somebody caring what it is that you're bringing, which I guess is what we're talking about in those core conditions, that empathic attunement, as TA may say, and that understanding, sharing it.
Absolutely. And funnily enough, I'm off to my practice in a few minutes, and one of the people I share my practice rooms with is a CBT therapist, the more empathic person you never hope to meet. He's a lovely man.
Yeah, there you go. A great question, and I think very well answered today, Rory. So thank you very much for that. So